The observation deck of the Galactic Council's research station hummed with nervous energy. 14 species, representatives from the most advanced civilizations in 3 sectors, stood pressed against the reinforced viewing panels. Below them, through 50 meters of transparent aluminum composite, stretched the killing floor, and in the center of that floor stood a human. His name was Marcus Webb. Average height for his species at 1.8 meters, brown hair, slightly unkempt, green eyes that seemed to take in everything without appearing to look at anything in particular. He wore simple clothing, what humans called jeans and a t-shirt, and he stood with his hands in his pockets like he was waiting for a bus. "This is absurd," hissed Krell 9, the Vorthon ambassador. His scales rippled with colors that translated to profound skepticism. "You are telling me that this creature can defeat a Shade Reaper in single combat?" Commander Thessa of the Arturian Defense Fleet crossed her forearms, her compound eyes reflecting the harsh lights of the observation deck. "That is precisely what the human delegation claims. They have requested this demonstration as part of their application to join the Galactic Council." "A demonstration," repeated Yorin, the Quelix scientist, his tentacles writhing in what might have been amusement or horror. It was hard to tell with his species. "They want us to watch one of their people fight a Shade Reaper, the apex predator of Cronus 7, the same creature that wiped out the Telonian colony expedition, all 43 trained soldiers, gone in under 2 minutes." "I was there for the aftermath," Thessa said quietly. "I have seen what a Shade Reaper can do." Below, Marcus Webb shifted his weight from one foot to the other. He glanced up at the observation deck, seemed to spot something that amused him, and gave a small wave. Casual, relaxed, like he was greeting a neighbor over a fence rather than preparing to face certain death. "He is either the bravest being I have ever encountered," Krell 9 said slowly, "or the stupidest." "Perhaps both," suggested Yorin. The human delegation stood off to one side of the observation deck. There were 3 of them. Ambassador Patricia Lawson, a woman with silver hair and the kind of smile that made you check your pockets afterward. Dr. Rajesh Patel, their xenobiologist, who kept fidgeting with a data pad like he was running last-minute calculations. And Captain Miranda Cole, military liaison, whose face revealed absolutely nothing. "Ambassador Lawson," Thessa said, turning to face the humans, "I must formally object to this demonstration. We have already lost too many lives to Shade Reapers. Your Mr. Webb seems like a capable individual, but capability means nothing against a creature that can tear through starship hull plating." Patricia smiled that unsettling smile of hers. "Noted and logged, Commander, but Marcus volunteered. And frankly, we are tired of being told that humanity is too fragile for council membership, too soft, too slow, too weak. We evolved on a death world, Commander. Perhaps it is time we showed you what that actually means." "A death world," scoffed Krell 9. "Every species claims their homeworld was dangerous. My people hunted plasma eels in the lava rivers of Vorthos Prime. The Arturians evolved in a jungle where plants were carnivorous and the smallest predator had venom that could drop a full-grown Quelix in seconds. What makes Earth so special?" Dr. Patel looked up from his datapad. "Earth has megafauna, or rather, it had them, until we showed up." "Megafauna?" Yorin's translator struggled with the term. "Large predators," Patel explained. "Massive creatures, saber-toothed cats with fangs as long as your tentacles, cave bears that stood 4 meters tall, giant short-faced bears, dire wolves, terror birds, and humans with nothing but sharpened rocks and wooden spears hunted them all into extinction." "Impossible," Krell 9 said flatly. "Primitive tool users could not—" "We did not just hunt them," Patricia interrupted, her smile growing wider. "We pursued them. For days, for weeks. We would pick an animal and simply follow it, never stopping, never resting, just following, slowly, patiently, until the creature was so exhausted it could not run anymore. Then we would walk up to it and kill it. We called it persistence hunting. Tini. Some human cultures still practice it. The aliens exchanged glances. Yoren's tentacles had stopped writhing. Even Thessa looked unsettled. You hunted by not stopping, Thessa said slowly, by simply refusing to give up. Correct. That is horrifying. That is humanity, Commander. Below, a massive door groaned open at the far end of the killing floor. Darkness spilled out like liquid shadow, and from that darkness came a sound that made every non-human in the observation deck take an involuntary step backward. It was not a roar, not a scream. It was something worse. A wet, rattling hiss that seemed to bypass the ears entirely and speak directly to the most primitive parts of the brain, the parts that remembered being prey. The Shade Reaper emerged slowly, deliberately, 6 meters of nightmare-made flesh. Its body was covered in overlapping plates of chitinous armor that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. 8 legs, each ending in claws that could punch through steel. A head that was mostly mouth, filled with rows of crystallized teeth that could bite through bone like humans bit through vegetables. And its eyes. Dozens of them, black and multifaceted and utterly devoid of anything resembling mercy. Marcus Webb took his hands out of his pockets. "Here we go," he said quietly. The microphone scattered around the killing floor picked up his voice and broadcast it through the observation deck. He sounded almost bored. The Shade Reaper spotted him instantly, its head swiveled with mechanical precision. The hissing grew louder. Saliva dripped from its maw, sizzling when it hit the floor. Acidic. "This is madness," Yoren whispered. "Stop this. Stop this now before—" The Shade Reaper charged. It moved faster than something that large had any right to move. 1 second it was at the far end of the floor. The next it was crossing the distance in massive, bounding leaps. The impact of its legs hitting the ground sent vibrations through the entire station. Weapons fire had been tested against these creatures. Plasma cannons, particle beams, rail guns. Nothing penetrated that armor. Nothing stopped them once they started moving. Marcus Webb did not run. He did not try to dodge. He simply stood there, watching the 6-meter nightmare bearing down on him like a freight train made of teeth and murder. "Webb, move!" Captain Cole shouted, her military composure finally cracking. "Marcus, get out of there!" He did not move. The Shade Reaper closed the distance. 30 meters, 20, 10. Its maw opened impossibly wide, revealing that forest of teeth. The stench of its breath, sharp and metallic and wrong, wafted up to the observation deck even through the sealed environment. 5 meters. 3. 2. Marcus Webb moved. It was not a dramatic movement. There was no fancy footwork, no martial arts flourish. He simply stepped forward into the creature's charge, dropped his shoulder, and drove his fist up into the soft tissue beneath the Shade Reaper's jaw. There was a sound like a hammer hitting a watermelon. The Shade Reaper's head snapped back. Its momentum carried its body forward, but something had fundamentally broken in its nervous system. The legs tangled. The massive creature crashed to the ground in a heap of twitching limbs and scraping chitin. It slid past Marcus, carved a trench in the floor, and slammed into the far wall with enough force to crack the reinforced concrete. Then it stopped moving. The entire killing floor was silent. Marcus Webb stood exactly where he had been, shaking his hand and grimacing slightly. "Ow," he said conversationally. "That stung." The observation deck erupted into chaos. "Impossible! What did he do? Rewind the footage. Rewind it now. There must be a weapon, some kind of device." Thessa was already at a console, her 4 hands flying across holographic controls. Video feeds appeared in the air, multiple angles of the confrontation, frame-by-frame analysis, thermal imaging, electromagnetic scanning. Every sensor the station possessed had been trained on that killing floor. "There," Krell 9 said, pointing with a clawed hand. "Stop it there!" The video froze at the moment of impact, Marcus's fist buried in the creature's throat, the Shade Reaper's head already beginning its backward snap. "Scan for weapons," Thessa ordered. "Scanning," replied the station's artificial intelligence. "No energy signatures detected, no metallic alloys beyond standard clothing fasteners, no chemical propellants, no projectiles, no—" "Then how?" Yorin demanded. "How? Did he kill it?" Dr. Patel had pulled up his own datapad and was scrolling through information rapidly. "You are all familiar with the concept of kinetic energy, yes?" "Obviously," Krell 9 snapped. "And you understand that humans are persistence hunters, endurance specialists. Our cardiovascular systems are incredibly efficient. Our muscles are designed for sustained effort over long periods." "What does that have to do with—" "Everything," Patel interrupted. "Because while we optimized for endurance, we did not sacrifice power. Human muscles are dense, very dense compared to most species our size, and the human skeleton is built to handle enormous amounts of force. We have joints designed to transfer energy efficiently, ligaments that can store and release elastic potential energy like springs, and perhaps most importantly, we have opposable thumbs and fine motor control that allows us to make a proper fist." He pulled up a diagram of a human hand. When a human makes a fist correctly, they are creating a biological hammer. The metacarpal bones align perfectly. The thumb wraps around to reinforce the structure, and when that fist is driven forward by muscles evolved to throw projectiles accurately at high speeds, the result is a concentrated kinetic strike that can deliver hundreds of pounds of force into a very small area. "But the armor," Thessa protested. "Nothing penetrates that armor." "He did not punch the armor," Captain Cole said quietly. She had moved to stand beside Patel and was studying the frozen video feed. "Look at the angle. He did not aim for the head or the body. He aimed for the throat, the soft tissue beneath the jaw, the one place on a Shade Reaper that is vulnerable." "And how did he know about that vulnerability?" demanded Krell 9. "Because we studied the footage from the Telonian massacre," Patricia said. Her smile was gone now. Her voice was flat and professional. "We analyzed every second. We looked at anatomy. We identified weak points. Because that is what humans do when faced with a predator. We study it. We learn its patterns. We find its vulnerabilities. And then we exploit them." The video resumed playing in slow motion. Marcus's fist impacted. The force transferred through the soft tissue directly into the creature's brainstem. A knockout blow delivered with surgical precision. 3 seconds from charge to collapse. "By all the stars," whispered Yorin, "he killed it with his bare hands." "Technically," Dr. Patel corrected, "he knocked it unconscious. The creature is still alive. Barely, but alive." Below, Marcus had walked over to the twitching Shade Reaper and was examining it with professional interest. He nudged one of its legs with his foot, then looked back up at the observation deck and gave a thumbs up. Patricia's smile returned. "So, Commander Thessa, about humanity's application to join the Galactic Council, do we still seem too fragile?" Thessa stared at the scene below. A single human, an apex predator that had terrorized 3 sectors. 3 seconds. "No," she said finally. "No, I do not think fragile is the correct word anymore." "What would be the correct word?" asked Yorin. Thessa considered. "Terrifying," she decided. Krell 9 made a noise that might have been agreement. "You evolved on a death world." "We did," Patricia confirmed. "And you became apex predators yourselves." "We did." "What about the other creatures on Earth?" Krell 9 asked slowly. "The ones you did not hunt to extinction. Are they as dangerous as the Shade Reaper?" Patricia and Patel exchanged glances. "Would you like to see footage of a hippopotamus?" Patel asked innocently. "A hippo what?" "Never mind," Patricia said quickly. Let us save that for the next demonstration. This one seems to have made our point adequately. Down on the killing floor, Marcus Webb was being led away by medical staff who wanted to check his hand. He was arguing that he was fine, that he had hit harder things during boxing practice, that this was really not a big deal, which was possibly the most terrifying part of the entire demonstration. For Marcus Webb, killing an apex predator in 3 seconds was not a big deal. It was just Tuesday. The aliens watched him go in silence. Finally, Yoren spoke. I move that we approve humanity's application to join the Galactic Council immediately. Seconded, said Krell 9. Thirded, added Thessa. And I further move that we never, under any circumstances, make humanity angry at us. The vote was unanimous. Patricia Lawson allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. Humanity had just taken its first official step into galactic politics, and they had done it the human way, with overwhelming, undeniable, absolutely terrifying competence. In a small medical bay adjacent to the killing floor, Marcus Webb sat on an examination table while a very confused Quelix doctor examined his hand with trembling tentacles. I do not understand, the doctor said for the 5th time. Your hand should be shattered. The bones should be in pieces. How are you not injured? Marcus shrugged. Good bones, I guess. Drink your milk, my mom always said. Milk? Never mind. The doctor wrapped his hand in a regenerative bandage anyway, more out of concern for its own medical ethics than any actual necessity. Marcus thanked it politely and hopped off the table. Captain Cole was waiting outside. You cut that pretty close, she said without preamble. Did I, though? Marcus, if you had missed that strike. I did not miss. But if you had... Miranda, Marcus interrupted gently. I have been training for this my entire adult life. Boxing, martial arts, anatomy studies, reflex drills. I knew exactly where to hit. I knew exactly how hard to hit. And I knew I would not miss. Trust me. Cole studied him for a long moment, then sighed. You are either the most confident man I have ever met or the craziest. Why not both? She almost smiled. How is the hand? Really, Marcus flexed his fingers experimentally. Sore, but fine. I have hit harder punching bags. That Shade Reaper weighed 3 tons. Like I said, punching bags. Cole shook her head in disbelief. The aliens are terrified of us now. Good. Fear means respect. Respect means they will listen when we talk, and listening is the first step to cooperation. When did you become a diplomat? Marcus grinned. About 3 seconds ago, right when I knocked out a nightmare from another world with my bare hand. Pretty good timing, yeah? Cole allowed herself a laugh. Come on, Earth's newest celebrity. Ambassador Lawson wants to debrief. And then we have about 600 interview requests from alien news networks. Do I have to? Yes. Can I at least get lunch first? Fighting apex predators makes a guy hungry. They walked down the corridor together, their footsteps echoing in the vast station. Behind them, in the killing floor, the Shade Reaper was slowly being transported back to containment. It would recover, eventually, but it would never be the same, because it had learned what every other apex predator in Earth's history had learned eventually. Humans do not play by the same rules. Humans do not respect the natural order. And humans, when properly motivated, are the most dangerous predators the galaxy has ever seen. The Galactic Council was about to learn that lesson too. And honestly, Marcus thought, as his stomach growled, they really should have seen it coming. The debriefing room was designed for comfort, which meant it was uncomfortable for everyone. The chairs were too soft for Arturians, too hard for Quelixes, and apparently just weird enough that Krell 9 kept shifting his weight like he was sitting on hot coals. Marcus Webb, however, had found the one human-sized chair in the room and looked perfectly content. This seemed to irritate the aliens even more than the whole punching a nightmare to death thing. Let us review, Thessa said, her voice carrying the kind of patience usually reserved for explaining basic concepts to very small children. You struck the Shade Reaper once, one single blow, and it fell unconscious. Yep, Marcus agreed cheerfully. No weapons. Nope. No enhancements. Unless you count coffee. I had 2 cups before coming here. Yoren's tentacles twitched violently. This is not a joke, Mr. Webb. We need to understand exactly what happened down there. For the record, for science, for our own sanity. Marcus leaned back in his chair, lacing his fingers behind his head. Look, I get that this is weird for you guys, but from a human perspective, what I did was not that special. Any trained fighter could have done it. You identified a threat. You studied its anatomy. You found the weak spot. You hit it hard and fast before it could react. Basic combat tactics. Basic, Krell 9 repeated slowly. You consider defeating an apex predator to be basic. Well, sure. I mean, if you know what you're doing, which I do, that is kind of why they sent me. Dr. Patel pulled up a holographic display showing Marcus's biometric data from the fight. Heart rate, adrenaline levels, neural activity. What is fascinating, he said, pointing to various spikes and dips in the data, is that Marcus's physiology barely registered the encounter as stressful. His heart rate increased by only 12%. His adrenaline spiked for approximately 4 seconds, then returned to baseline. His hands did not even shake. Because I was not scared, Marcus explained. Why would I be scared? I had a plan. Plans make things less scary. It was a Shade Reaper, Thessa said flatly. A creature that has killed dozens of trained soldiers. A monster that features in the nightmares of 3 separate species. And you were not scared, Marcus shrugged. I mean, sure, it looks scary. Big teeth, lots of legs, the whole drooling acid thing. But scary looking and actually dangerous are 2 different things. Once I knew where to hit it, the rest was just execution, like a test I had already studied for. The aliens exchanged glances that clearly said they were regretting every decision that had led them to this moment. Ambassador Lawson, who had been quietly observing from the corner of the room, chose that moment to speak. Gentleman, lady, an honored tentacled colleague, I think we are approaching this from the wrong angle. You keep asking how Marcus defeated the Shade Reaper. Boy, the better question is why you are all so surprised that he did? Surprised? Krell 9's scales flashed angry orange. Ambassador, your species was classified as non-threatening when you first made contact. You have no natural armor, no venom, no claws. Your bones break easily. Your skin tears from minor impacts. You cannot survive in most planetary environments without artificial protection. By every measurable standard, humans are fragile. Fragile? Patricia repeated, tasting the word. Yes, I suppose we are. Our bodies break easily. We die from infections that other species would not even notice. We require very specific atmospheric conditions. We are fragile. Then how? Because fragile things learn to be careful. Ambassador Krell 9. Fragile things learn to plan. Fragile things learn to use tools and strategy and teamwork. Fragile things learn that the universe does not care about fair fights. So you had better make every fight unfair in your favor. She stood and walked to the holographic display, manipulating it to show Earth's history. Images flashed past. Humans with spears surrounding a mammoth. Humans with bows hunting from a distance. Humans with traps, with fire, with domesticated wolves that would eventually become dogs. We are fragile, Patricia continued, so we became smart. We are weak, so we became persistent. We cannot survive alone, so we learn to work together better than any other species we have encountered. You see our weaknesses, but you do not see what those weaknesses forced us to become. Apex predators, Yoren said quietly. No, Patricia corrected. Something worse. We became problem solvers. Show a human an impossible obstacle, and we will find a way around it, over it, under it, or through it. Tell a human something cannot be done, and we will do it out of spite. Humans do not accept the universe as it is. We change it. Marcus nodded enthusiastically. Yeah, what she said. Plus, that Shade Reaper thing was pretty slow once it committed to the charge. Good acceleration, poor maneuverability, classic Predator mistake. All offense, no defense. Slow, Thessa said in disbelief. You called a Shade Reaper slow. Well, yeah, I mean, compared to a professional boxer or a martial artist. That thing telegraphed its attack from like 20 meters away. I had plenty of time to set up the counter. Plenty of time, Thessa repeated. It closed 20 meters in under 2 seconds. Right, 2 whole seconds. That is an eternity in a fight. The Arturian commander made a noise that her translator did not even attempt to interpret. Captain Cole cleared her throat diplomatically. Perhaps we should move on to the next item on the agenda. The Galactic Council has approved humanity's application pending completion of the standard integration protocols. We need to discuss our first official assignment. Already? Patel looked surprised. That was fast. The Council is eager to test humanity's capabilities in a controlled environment, Thessa explained, her tone suggesting she was not entirely happy about this development. We have a situation that requires a unique approach. Your demonstration today suggests you might be qualified. Patricia's expression became carefully neutral. What kind of situation? Yorin pulled up a star map. A system on the edge of Council space blinked red. This is the Kestris system, 3 inhabited planets, all mining colonies. 2 weeks ago, they stopped responding to communications. We sent a scout ship. It returned with this. A video feed appeared in the air, shaky footage from a ship's external camera showing a planet's surface. The mining colony was in ruins, buildings collapsed, equipment scattered, and everywhere, absolutely everywhere, were claw marks, big claw marks. Shade Reapers, Marcus asked, leaning forward with interest. Worse, Krell 9 said grimly. Shade Reapers hunt alone or in pairs. Whatever hit Kestris was hunting in packs. We estimate at least 20 creatures, maybe more. Any survivors? We do not know. The scout ship detected life signs but could not land safely. Whatever those creatures are, they are still active on the surface, still hunting. Patricia studied the footage carefully. You want us to go there? We want you to investigate, Thessa corrected. Determine what these creatures are. Find out if there are survivors, and if possible, neutralize the threat. Neutralize, Marcus repeated. You mean kill them? If necessary, yes. Marcus looked at Patricia, then at Captain Cole, then back at the aliens. A slow grin spread across his face. Okay, I am just going to say it. You watched me punch one nightmare to death, and your immediate reaction was to send us to a planet full of nightmares. That is either the best compliment ever, or you really do not like us. Both, Krell 9 admitted, but mostly we are desperate. We have lost contact with 17,000 colonists. If there is any chance of saving them, we need to act quickly. And after today's demonstration, we believe humans might be uniquely suited for this mission. Uniquely suited for fighting monsters nobody else wants to deal with, Cole said dryly. How flattering. Will you accept the assignment? Thessa asked. The 3 humans looked at each other. Some kind of silent communication passed between them, the sort of unspoken understanding that came from working together extensively. Finally, Patricia nodded. We will need to assemble a team. Specialists, people who know what they are doing. How many people? Asked Yorin. 12, Patricia said immediately. Give me 12 humans and we will get your colonists back. 12? Against potentially hundreds of hostile creatures? Marcus stood up, rolling his shoulders. Lady, I just knocked out your nightmare monster in 3 seconds. Imagine what 12 of me could do with actual planning time. That is not reassuring, Thessa muttered. It is not supposed to be reassuring, Marcus replied. It is supposed to be effective. There is a difference. The meeting continued for another hour, covering logistics, equipment, timelines. The human team would depart in 48 hours, giving them time to gather personnel and supplies. The Galactic Council would provide transportation and support, but the mission itself would be entirely under human command. As they filed out of the debriefing room, Yoren caught up with Patricia. "Ambassador, may I ask you something?" "Of course. When you said humans do not accept the universe as it is, that you change it. What did you mean?" Patricia smiled that unsettling smile again. "I meant that every other species we have met looks at a problem and asks how to adapt to it. Humans look at a problem and ask how to make the problem adapt to us. We do not survive in hostile environments. We make hostile environments survivable. We do not accept natural predators. We make them unnatural or extinct. We do not compromise with the universe, Dr. Yoren. We negotiate from a position of strength." "That sounds lonely." "It is, but it keeps us alive. And right now, keeping your colonists alive is what matters." Yoren's tentacles drooped thoughtfully. "I hope you succeed, Ambassador. I truly do. Not just for the colonists, but for what it would mean. If humans can save them where we have failed, it would prove something important." "What would it prove?" "That fragile things can also be strong. That weakness can become power. That the universe does not have to be as cruel as we thought." Patricia's smile softened slightly. "We will do our best, Doctor. Humans are good at doing our best, usually while complaining about it extensively, but still." She found Marcus and Cole waiting near the transport bay. Marcus was eating something that looked like it might have been a sandwich before several alien food additives got involved with it. He made a face with each bite but kept eating. "That looks disgusting," Cole observed. "It is," Marcus agreed around a mouthful. "But I am starving, and the next 48 hours are going to be crazy. So, disgusting sandwich it is." Patricia pulled up her datapad, already scrolling through personnel files. "We need specialists, combat, medicine, engineering, xenobiology. People who can think on their feet and will not panic when things go sideways." "Things always go sideways," Cole said. "Exactly. So we need people who are good at sideways." Marcus finished his sandwich and wiped his hands on his jeans. "I know a guy. Well, a woman, actually. Victoria Grant. Former Special Forces, now does private security. She has fought in more hostile environments than most people have heard of. Plus, she is scary smart and really good at keeping people alive." "I will add her to the list," Patricia said. "Who else?" They spent the next 20 minutes building their team. Combat specialists, engineers who could repair anything with whatever was available, medics who had seen everything and panicked at nothing, scientists who understood alien biology better than most aliens understood it themselves, 12 humans, 12 very specific, very dangerous humans. "This is going to work," Marcus said confidently. "We are going to get those colonists back." "You sound very sure of that," Cole said. "I am sure. You know why?" "Why?" "Because we are humans, and humans do not leave people behind. It is kind of our thing. We climb mountains because they are there. We explore oceans because we want to know what is down there. We go to space because staying on one planet is boring. And we rescue people because that is what you do when you have the ability to help. It is not complicated." Patricia looked at her datapad, then at Marcus, then at the stars visible through the transport bay windows. Somewhere out there, 17,000 colonists were waiting to find out if anyone was coming for them, waiting to see if they had been forgotten or abandoned. They had not been forgotten. They had not been abandoned, because humanity had just arrived in galactic politics, and humanity played by different rules. In his private quarters, Krell 9 was watching footage of the Shade Reaper fight for the 100th time, frame by frame, millisecond by millisecond, trying to understand how a single punch from a creature that weighed less than 90 kilograms could drop a 3-ton killing machine. The math worked. Barely. The kinetic energy transferred, the angle of impact, the vulnerability of the tissue, it all made. sense on paper, but watching it happen was different from understanding it. He paused the video at the moment of impact. Marcus Webb's face was visible in the frame. And what struck Krell 9, what truly unsettled him, was the expression on the human's face. Concentration, focus, determination, but not fear, not even a little bit. Marcus Webb had stared down a nightmare and seen a problem to be solved. "What kind of species does that?" Krell 9 asked the empty room. The room did not answer, but somewhere in the back of his mind, Krell 9 thought he knew. The kind of species that evolved on a planet where everything was trying to kill them, where survival meant being smarter, faster, more adaptable than the countless predators that wanted to eat them, where being weak meant becoming creative, where being fragile meant becoming dangerous. The kind of species that looked at the food chain and decided to climb to the top of it using nothing but sharp rocks and stubbornness. Humans. Krell 9 turned off the video and made himself a drink. Something strong. He had a feeling he was going to need it, because humanity had just joined the Galactic Council, and somehow he suspected the galaxy was never going to be quite the same. 2 days later, the human team assembled in the hangar bay of the Council Station. 12 individuals, each carrying equipment that looked both highly advanced and slightly improvised. They moved with the easy confidence of people who knew exactly what they were capable of. Marcus stood with Victoria Grant, a tall woman with short blonde hair and scars that told stories she probably would not share. They were reviewing tactical displays and arguing about approach vectors in the way that only people who respected each other could argue. Ambassador Lawson watched them from the observation platform above. Dr. Patel stood beside her, data pad in hand as always. "Do you think they can do it?" Patel asked quietly. 12 people against an unknown number of hostile creatures. Patricia did not hesitate. Yes. That is a lot of confidence. It is earned confidence. I have seen what humans can do when properly motivated, and rescuing 17,000 people, that is pretty motivating. Below, the team began boarding their transport ship, a council vessel heavily armed and equipped with the best technology 3 sectors had to offer. But Patricia suspected the real weapons were the 12 humans themselves. Captain Cole joined them on the platform. "They are ready. Mission brief is complete. Everyone knows the stakes." "And they are still going," Patel observed. "Of course they are," Cole said. "That is what we do. Someone needs help. We help them. Someone is in danger. We protect them. It is not complicated." "It is to most species," Patricia said. "Most species focus on survival, on protecting their own. Humans protect everyone." "Is that wise?" Patricia smiled. "Probably not. But wisdom is overrated. Effectiveness is what matters. And humans are very effective." The transport ship's engines began warming up, the hangar bay filled with the sound of barely contained power about to be unleashed. "Good hunting," Patricia said quietly, even though none of the team could hear her. "Show them what humans can do." The ship lifted off smoothly, maneuvered through the hangar bay doors, and accelerated toward open space, toward the Kestris system, toward whatever nightmare was waiting there. 12 humans against an unknown threat. The aliens watching from the control room looked nervous, worried, uncertain, but Patricia felt only confidence, because she knew something the aliens were still learning. Humans did not win fights by being stronger or faster or tougher. Humans won fights by being more determined, by refusing to quit, by looking at impossible odds and deciding those odds were more like suggestions. The Shade Reaper had learned that lesson the hard way. Whatever was waiting on Kestris was about to learn it too. And somewhere in the galaxy, in places humans had not yet explored, other threats were going about their business. Hunting, killing, destroying, confident in their power, secure in their dominance. They had no idea that the rules had just changed, that a new player had entered the game. A player that did not care about being weaker or smaller or more fragile. A player that had spent millions of years turning weaknesses into weapons. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same.